Gundam.tk presents Gundam F91. Hey everybody, Robert184 from Gundam.tk, and welcome back to the third and final part of my review of the Master Grade F91, which is shaping up to be incredible. So let's see it all put together now. When you're putting this Gundam together, you're going to notice that everything is incredibly tight. Like when you put the feet on, you're not going to want to take them off. And the same goes down here with the waist. You'll notice inside there's no polycaps, just hard plastic, so it's not something that comes apart easily. The waist section at will is hard to take apart once you've put it in, and it does have a fair bit of mobility, though you might pop up this red piece if you're not careful. The shoulders themselves, I should have mentioned, have this ability to slide forward and up and down, which is similar to the Master Grade Gundam version 2.0, and it's no problem at all to just pop the shoulders and arms on. Once he's all together, let's see how he looks. So here he is, the Master Grade F91 Gundam, and I have to say on first impressions, besides him being very small, this is just classic Universal Century Gundam design and mechanical design at its finest. From the color schemes, which just has a little bit of the little bit of yellow all around the waist and the chest, in addition to the red feet, blue chest, and the yellow V-fins, which is always sort of a nice touch for me. This is just screams classic Gundam. Now, as mentioned, it's a little bit hard to get this weapons attachment into the shield itself, but that's a good thing. And once you slide this forward, this just slaps onto the forearm. And the beam rifle has no problems at all fitting in, thanks to the fact that they give you a pin and its generally sturdy construction. So before Gundam Seed was making it cool for everybody to have an energy shield, the F91 having one was a pretty big advancement in UC technology back in the time, and back in 1991 in general. And once you've got the shield on, he sort of really adds, the shield is just the right size, but because of its light weight, you're not going to have any weight issues or something of that. And because of his small and general sleek overall design, I don't think he'd suit the traditional, Crusader shield of a regular Gundam. So I'm really happy with the way this looks. And the beam rifle is just the right size, and the fact that it has so many colors built into it just adds to the overall appeal. For size comparisons, the F91 is only 15 meters, and this is a 1/100th kit, meaning this should be 15 centimeters tall. And here it is, next to the granddaddy, original RX-78-2 Ambrose Gundam. And you can see that over time in the Universal Century, the kits really got smaller, and the F91 really shows that. Here it is next to another kit that I initially had some misgivings about, but the GPO-3S turned out to be a much better model than I expected, especially compared to the GPO-1 and GPO-2A, and the F91 has really exceeded my expectations as well. Here it is next to the Master Grade Victory Gundam, which is similar in time frames in Universal Century. Whereas the Victory Gundam is sort of blocky and old style, the F91 does have a little bit more of a modern sensibility about it. But in terms of models, so far the F91 puts the Master Grade Victory to shame. The beam launcher fits in surprisingly well on the back and actually isn't just hanging on, but actually clipped inside because of the ingenious attachment mechanism they put on the back skirt. You can see the beam launcher here in the back, and I had to take the shield off because it tends to get in the way of anything you try to do with the beam launcher there. And you can see it here with its green beam sabers, which actually look pretty good. And the beam sabers matching the beam shield is a pleasant touch. One thing I'm always pleasantly surprised with is how easy it is to get the hands into the Vespers. They're just in exactly the right place, and the hands having good mobility really helps things out. And of course everybody wants to see the Vespers, so here they are swung forward. And you just get an idea of the range of movability that they have, because you can have them pointing up, down, and off to the sides with almost no problems at all. It's an absolutely incredible feat of posability, and I'm really impressed so far. You're also able to attach the beam shield in most of these poses, just depending on the way that you've got the arms, but because this is on a separate pivot point here, you are able to play with it just a little bit to get it where you want it. And can you say loaded? Because despite its small size at 15 meters, the fact that it's got two Vespers and a whole bunch of other weapons that you can add on to it, plus the beam shield, just gives you the effect that this is one loaded for bear Gundam that can pretty much take on anything. To send him airborne, you're probably going to want to take off the back skirt because you have to pull off this slider here, which is also made of the same hard plastic, which is a bad thing here because it's a little bit hard to get off. But remember, the hard plastic on plastic everywhere else is what's kept this Gundam so rigid and with lacking half the posability problems that other kits have had. You can choose to use the La Fresia as just sort of an action base, so you can have the F91 sort of ignoring that it's up there, and you still get a rather cool effect, because instead of just having a clear base that you're trying to hide it, it sort of has an organic feel to it, which just adds a little bit of interest when you're looking at the model on your shelf. And if you do choose to lock him into Mortal Kombat with his own action base, the effects can be really cool, because it's very easy for you to reposition this Gundam into many different poses, and you're not going to have any problems with things falling apart and things getting in the way. It's generally just so well designed that all you have to do is just adjust the action base and you can have him facing down and looking really cool. So put him on a high shelf and you've got a very interesting visual effect once again. For those of you who were a little bit disappointed in the movie F91 just because of the fact that they tried to cram so much into 2 hours and didn't do that satisfying a job of it, I really recommend, if you can, find a version of Crossbone Gundam, the manga that you can read. And I've just got a couple of them here. This is the Steel 7 and Skull Heart. And actually what happened is that Seabook Arno, who's the main character in F91, becomes the pilot of the Crossbone Gundam X1, which this is not. This is the full-cloth version X1 Kai Kai, which is piloted by the junior protagonist, Tobia Aranax. So anyway, if you do have a chance, I really recommend checking out Crossbone Gundam, because it really carries on the story in a good, fun, entertaining sense. So if you do want to check out that manga, I think that you'd enjoy the F91 series all the more, and Cecily Fairchild and Seabook Arno just come across as much better, stronger characters there. Not to mention the fact that I think these two models look really cool beside each other, although I am still waiting for an X3 and an X2. But that being said, I'll say something more about this model later, but the overall design of the two of them together is pretty cool, I think. So now some final thoughts on the Master Grade F91, and really, the only thing I can say to start this off is that this kit is great. First of all, it's reasonably priced, 3,200 yen. It comes in a small kit, not a lot of parts, but when you're putting this together, this is one of the kind of builds where you're going to build it even if you don't like the Gundam, you don't like the movie, you don't like the mechanical design. Just the pleasure of the build here is going to make this well worth every penny. In addition, it's the kind of things like getting the Lefresia as the action base, and getting things like the beam launcher, and the beam rifle, and the two Vespers, plus the beam sabers, plus the bombs on his forearm and in his pocket. There's just a lot of playability in this kit, including things like the face open thing and that you can pull out the fins. And not to mention the fact that you can put this onto the back. There's so many features packed into such a small Gundam that you'd think, that it would result in a whole bunch of problems. And that's something I want to do, comparing this to other small 15-meter Gundams in the Gundam universe. So when you have things like the Crossbone Gundam, which is a version Katoki design, and the Unicorn Gundam, and the Master Grade Victory Gundam, this Gundam, if I pick up this Gundam and just shake him, he's just loose everywhere. The head is loose, everything on the back is loose. Basically, you don't even want to pose this guy. He's such a pain to deal with. And when I built him, I didn't really notice it as much. But over time, it's just the kind of thing where he sits on your shelf in one place and he's going to fall apart, and you don't even want to fix him because it's just going to fall apart again. Whereas with this F91, part of it is due to the fact that it doesn't have the polycaps in it, but it's just overall such a solidly well-designed build that everything you do with it, it's going to want to cooperate. And whereas with this one, you feel like you have to adjust 25 different things and it's never going to cooperate, this one, you just put him on the action base and you can move him around with the hands and the weapons and you're going to have no problems at all. So even though we are talking about newer kits in terms of the Master Grade Victory, etc., the overall feel of the F91 as a 15-meter Gundam makes it by far the best of this set, if not one of the best Master Grades I've ever actually put together. So anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. As always, Robert184 from gundam.tk, and let me know with a rating, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned for lots more reviews, and don't forget you can check out Crossbone Gundam, Victory Gundam, and all the other Gundams you've seen on the website. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. See you next time. The joke was going to be pretty simple. I was just going to have F91 swing his foot around and kick them both in the head, but you know what? I don't want to deal with the 45 broken parts I'd have to deal with.